The type that handles criticism best on this list is not who you'd expect, and it's not because they're the most rational. It's because they're the only type that genuinely doesn't need to win the conversation first. We're ranking all 16 MBTI types by who handles criticism best, looking at two things: whether criticism lands on the work or on the self, and whether the type is after the truth of the feedback or just the peace of the moment. Let's find out who actually listens. Number 16, ESFP. Criticism lands on ESFPs as personal rejection, not because they're fragile, but because they're fully present in everything they do, which makes it hard to separate the feedback from the feeling. Tone is everything here. Blunt, cold delivery doesn't just make the feedback harder to receive, it makes it almost impossible. I hear what you're saying, I just wish you didn't say it like that. The content, it's lost in the delivery. And even when the tone is fine, there's still an emotional processing period before anything useful gets extracted. Valid criticism often takes longer to land than it should. Number 15, ENFP. ENFPs are genuinely open-minded, in theory. In practice, they're highly sensitive to how criticism is delivered, and if the delivery feels unkind or manipulative, they'll reject the content along with the packaging. That might be a valid point, but I'm too distracted by how you said it to care right now. They're also optimistic enough about themselves that honest self-assessment sometimes gets delayed. The feedback gets intellectually acknowledged and emotionally shelved, which isn't the same as processed. Number 14, ENFJ. ENFJs don't just receive criticism, they respond to it by immediately trying to fix the relationship around it, which sounds healthy, but often means over-adjusting to please the critic rather than genuinely evaluating whether the feedback is accurate. You're right, I'll change that. I just want to make sure we're okay. The priority is peace over truth. They'll incorporate feedback that didn't need incorporating just to restore harmony, and occasionally dismiss feedback that was valid because they've already smoothed things over emotionally and moved on.
Number 13, ESFJ. For ESFJs, criticism doesn't just feel like feedback on the work. It feels like a signal about the relationship, which means the first thing they're processing isn't whether the criticism is accurate, it's whether the person still likes them. I'll definitely think about that. Are you upset with me? Once the relational anxiety is resolved, ESFJs can actually process feedback well. The problem is getting past that first layer, and toxic or manipulative criticism can do significant damage before they've had the chance to evaluate it objectively. Number 12, INFP. INFPs create from a deeply personal place. The work is an extension of the self, which means criticism of the output and criticism of the person feel functionally identical. This is the TI, introverted thinking, versus FI, introverted feeling, distinction at its clearest. Where an INTP might receive the same feedback as a logical puzzle to solve, an INFP receives it as a direct comment on who they are. I know you're critiquing the work, but it doesn't feel that way. They'll get there eventually. INFPs have strong enough internal values to eventually evaluate criticism honestly, but the emotional processing requirement before that happens is significant, and not everyone waits around for it.
Number 11, ISFP. ISFPs have the same FI introverted feeling, sensitivity, as INFPs. The work is personal, the criticism lands personally, but they process it more quietly, which can look like resilience from the outside when it's actually just internalization. I heard you. I'm not going to say anything about it right now. The feedback goes in. Whether it comes back out as genuine self-correction or gets quietly dismissed behind a calm exterior is harder to tell. ISFPs don't argue with criticism. They just don't always act on it either.
Number 10, ESTP. ESTPs are practically resilient. They don't take criticism personally, they don't spiral, and they recover fast. What they're less good at is taking seriously any criticism that doesn't have an immediate, obvious utility. Okay, noted. How does that actually help me right now? If the feedback is actionable, they'll use it. If it's abstract, developmental, or delivered without a clear, practical application, it tends to get filed under probably fine to ignore. Valid, long-term feedback sometimes gets lost in that filter. Number 9. ENTP. ENTPs are intellectually humble, eventually. The problem is the amount of debate that happens before they get there. They don't reject criticism, they interrogate it, which sounds like due diligence but often functions as a delay tactic, because once an ENTP is engaged in the argument, winning starts to feel like the point. I'm not saying you're wrong, I'm saying you haven't fully proven you're right yet. When the criticism is airtight, they'll concede, and genuinely, but they'll make you build the whole case first. This directly speaks to the audience question about ENTPs and admitting they're wrong. They do it, just never easily. Number 8. ISFJ. ISFJs process criticism by running it through their archive of past experience, the SI, introverted sensing self-correction loop. Before they update, they need to check whether this feedback matches or contradicts what they already know. Let me think about whether that's actually been a pattern. That's slower than purely logical processing, but it's also more thorough. They're not updating based on one piece of feedback. They're updating based on whether it holds across a pattern of evidence. When they do update, it sticks. They just take longer to get there than the top half of this list.
Number 7. ESTJ. ESTJs value accurate, evidence-based feedback and will genuinely incorporate it. But they have a significant ego investment in their methods and systems. Criticism of how they do something lands harder than criticism of what they did. Delivery also matters more than ESTJs would like to admit. They'll tell you they only care about accuracy, but blunt, disrespectful criticism activates their authority instinct before their update instinct. If you can show me clearly where I went wrong, I'll fix it, but don't come at me like that. Number 6. ENTJ. ENTJs are highly functional with criticism that comes with clear logic and evidence. They separate ego from output efficiently and update fast when the argument is sound. Where they struggle is criticism that's vague, emotionally framed, or delivered without clear utility. That type of feedback tends to get dismissed outright, not always incorrectly, but sometimes too quickly. Tell me specifically what was wrong and what the better approach is. Otherwise, this isn't useful to me. The bar for what counts as valid feedback is high with an ENTJ. When criticism clears it, they're excellent. When it doesn't, nothing gets through, regardless of whether it's accurate. We're now in the top 5. From here, the gap between receiving criticism and actually using it closes significantly. These types don't just tolerate feedback, they process it cleanly, update where needed, and move on without the defensive detour most other types take. Hit like and subscribe if you're enjoying this. We do this every week.
Number 5. INFJ. INFJs are deeply self-reflective, which is mostly an asset here, with one specific exception. When criticism lands, INFJs don't just evaluate it, they run it through their entire internal model, searching for what it means, whether there's a pattern, what it says about them more broadly. That NI self-correction loop is thorough, but it can turn valid, simple feedback into an extended internal project. I've been thinking about what you said for 3 days, and I think it connects to something deeper. They'll arrive at genuine insight. It just takes longer than it needs to, and occasionally a piece of straightforward feedback gets overanalyzed into something more complicated than it was. Number 4. ISTP. ISTPs receive criticism the way they receive most things, as information. There's no ego investment, no relational anxiety, no need to debate it, just a clean assessment of whether it's accurate. Is that right? Okay, I'll fix it. 4 words, no drama, no processing period, no lingering. If the criticism is valid, they update immediately. If it isn't, they discard it without resentment. The main limitation is that feedback requiring emotional attunement, criticism about how they're affecting people, for example, sometimes gets processed with the same detachment that works well for technical feedback, which isn't always the right tool.
Number 3.
INTP. INTPs treat criticism as a logical puzzle, which makes them one of the fastest self-correctors on this list when the argument is sound. They're not emotionally attached to their conclusions. They're attached to being correct. And if you can demonstrate that a conclusion was wrong, the update happens almost immediately, because the conclusion was never the point. The truth was, "Oh, you're right. I hadn't considered that variable. The whole model needs adjusting." This is the TI difference from FI at its most visible. The output isn't the self. It's just the current best answer. And best answers get replaced when better ones show up. The one limitation is that INTPs can occasionally debate for longer than necessary before accepting valid criticism. But once the logic is airtight, there's no resistance. Number 2, INTJ. INTJs separate ego from output more cleanly than almost anyone. Their identity isn't tied to being right, it's tied to getting it right. That distinction makes them excellent at incorporating feedback that serves their goals, even when it's uncomfortable. "You're correct, I'll adjust." No elaboration needed. The NI self-correction loop runs fast and efficiently. Criticism gets evaluated against their internal model, and if it improves the model, it goes in. What keeps INTJs from the top spot is a subtle but real resistance that shows up when criticism comes from someone they don't respect, or challenges a conclusion they've already stress-tested extensively. The ego isn't attached to the work, but it is attached slightly to the process.
And finally, topping our list at number 1, ISTJ. ISTJs take the top spot, and the reason is specific. Every other type in the top 5 has something that occasionally gets in the way. INTPs debate, INTJs resist slightly when challenged by someone they don't respect, ISFPs internalize without updating. ISTJs have the fewest internal obstacles between receiving criticism and acting on it. They're delivery tolerant. Blunt, direct feedback doesn't activate a defensive response, it just gets evaluated for accuracy. Is that accurate? Yes? Then I'll correct it. They don't need to win the exchange. They don't need to process it emotionally first. They don't need to debate whether the critic had the right to say it. If it's accurate, it goes in. If it isn't, it gets filed and discarded without resentment. That's not the flashiest approach to feedback, but it is the most functional. And across every type of criticism from every type of source, delivered in every type of way, ISTJs process it more consistently and reliably than anyone else on this list. So where did your type land? Drop it in the comments and be honest. What's the last piece of criticism you actually acted on? And what's one you dismissed that you probably shouldn't have? And if you want to take this further, a lot of what makes certain types vulnerable to false or manipulative criticism connects directly to everything we covered in our gaslighting and narcissist magnet videos. Links in the description if you want to go down that rabbit hole. If you enjoyed this, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. We do this every week. And remember, handling criticism well isn't about having no reaction. It's about making sure the reaction doesn't become the whole story.